Oh, good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, Father's Day edition. Uh, I'm wearing my shirt. It says best bucking dad ever. Today, we're going to learn how to transform your life with heart-centered listening. What? Here we
What?
go. What? It's time to wake up the inner giant. Boom. Oh, hey there, everyone.
Oh, hey there.
Hey there.
I have a joke for you guys. Why can't a leopard hide?
Why?
Because he's always spotted.
Oh, I thought he
Today's episode is all going to be about dads and dad jokes, I think. But it's also
That was
that's
that
why I
was
did that.
that was horrible, dude.
No,
Well,
Yeah.
I thought they were great at hiding because they have so many spots.
see, I mean that's
I'm not spotting that.
It's like so literal.
Wait, what kind of spots did it have? How to ruin a joke in like 2 seconds? Ask questions. Was it was this an African spotted leopard or a South African or South American?
Well, what do you call an illegally parked frog?
What?
A toad.
Toad.
You know what happens to an illegally parked frog? It gets towed away.
Towed away. Yeah,
Toad away.
totally.
Yeah, I love. If you want to do dad jokes, we're gonna have to. Is this show 3 or 4 hours? How long?
Yeah, no, we could go all night on this if we need to. If there's
My
dad
favorite-
jokes involved, we're all in.
My
I may or
favorite
may
dad
not have
joke-
looked up like the top 100 dad jokes. So.
My favorite one of all time is, what did one nut say to another nut in a race?
Hmm.
I'm a cashew.
Well, today's episode is going to be fun. It's going to be full of dad jokes.
Right?
It's full of dads already. So you get us three. We're all dads.
Happy
Robert has
Father's
3.
Day.
Nick has 4. I have 5. So just boom, boom, boom. Doing our part in the world. So you're welcome, world, for that. I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. This beautiful book. Whoop, whoop. He wrote it, back in 2008, Nick?
2009. Yeah.
2009. It was, yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say, Nick was a young dad going through some hard times, and this book downloaded. Luckily for me, I don't know, 2019, I got to run into Nick, and I got to see the quality of man that he is, and somehow convinced him to be business partners with me, and so grateful for that, because now we're here with Robert Twine on Wake Up with Giants TV. Woo. We started a tribe of giants. Wake Up with Giants TV, 12 Journeys Coaching. It's been quite an adventure, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So,
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs and just a lot of growth, global growth. Now we're international speakers because we spoke in one country. outside of the US. Isn't that how it goes? I'm an international bestseller. I sold a book in Canada, right? So
that's awesome. Well, I got stuck in the airport in Ireland, so I've spoken in Ireland.
You did. I'm an international Guinness drinker.
Yes.
That's what I did.
That was
So
the
it was
best.
awesome.
Will you introduce our guest today, Mr. Nick?
I would love to. So everybody that's here today, welcome to another incredible episode of Wake Up with Giants TV. Today we have the pleasure of hosting Robert Twine. He's a personal coach dedicated to fostering meaningful connections through heart-centered listening. Robert's approach focuses on creating profound and lasting connections by being present and attentive in every interaction. With a commitment to spreading love and learning from the diverse tapestry of humanity, Robert has helped many individuals transform their lives through the power of conversation. His techniques emphasize the importance of presence and listening, offering valuable insights for personal growth and positive change. So please join me in welcoming the remarkable Robert Twine. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. Thanks for having me. You guys are really the dynamic duo. I love it. You guys go together like peanut butter and jelly. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like peanut butter and bananas or peanut butter.
It depends on who you are, like what you like together. But and I really appreciate you having me here. It's always a pleasure to be able to show up, share with people, and just share who I be and get connected with great people like yourself. So happy Father's Day to you guys.
You too, man. Thank you. I like this statement, and there's a new twist on this. Thank you for being with us. And that being, I'm going to have a version of that. You're going to have a version of that. Ryan has his version of that. And we're all doing that together. And so thank you for being with us. And thank you for being with us. And we have this idea here of really navigating and inspiring the person watching the show, whether it's one person or 100 people or 1 million people, it doesn't matter. Our impact is one person through your story. And if we can impact them by 1%, that's our new commitment here, then we're going to create something positive. And we like to do that through inspiring them through your story. So I want to start with who you think you are, or who you thought you were at some point. Maybe the programming, if you can talk about the programming up to an awakening moment where you thought you were somebody and you were conditioned to be that, you conditioned yourself to be that, you went around the world acting as if that was the truth, and then you had a realization. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Sure does, yeah.
What is that for you?
Well, I'd have to start pretty young because I remember being very young. I remember my elementary school yearbook, and I found it years later in the attic, and I opened it up, and I had seen where I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and I had taken the yearbook and I had scratched out everybody's faces except for one teacher that I really liked and one person that I hung out with. So I felt that was a good metaphor of like how I felt growing up. I felt really disconnected. I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like I didn't have anything important to say. I felt like people didn't like me. I felt like I had all these ideas of just stuck in my head really a lot, thinking a lot of things that just were not empowering thoughts. Like, nobody likes to hear what I have to say. I might as well just be quiet because people are just they're just going to brush me off. People aren't going to pay attention to me. I'm not important. I had these thoughts, these consistent thoughts that just kept me from really being. I was like I was always felt like I couldn't be myself, or if I did, people weren't going to accept me. And that started really young. And then I found the love of my life, which when I started drinking at 15, and I took my first drink and I was like, this is the answer to all my problems. Oh yeah, I got it. I finally found it. Like, I drank and took that drink, and like I could be and do and say everything I wanted to be, do, and say. It was the answer to all my problems. For that moment, it was like, that freedom, even though the first time I drank, I threw up. I got in a fight with one of the friends that I was with, and I had a terrible hangover the next day. Even though that happened, I still saw that as the answer to my troubles. And I went down that road for a lot of years, and I saw that as the answer for a lot of years. But it didn't take long for the unmanageability in my life to start to show up from that as well. Because it's like, this is something that maybe the listeners can relate to, is it's like I always thought that the power for me to be, say, and do what I wanted to be, say, and do was outside of myself. Like I had to have something outside of me that I could do, that I could have. Maybe if I had enough money, maybe if I had the right looks, maybe if I have my hair the right way, or I wore the right shirts, or I drank enough, the perfect amount, then people would like me, people would accept me, that people would want to be around me. And the more I tried to do that my whole life, even now when I try to do that with things, like recently I bought a new car, which I loved. And then after I was like, why did I do that? That's like, I love it. And part of me is like, it's not something that I need to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it can show up today in my life. But I came to when I was 17, that was my first kind of brick wall, where I hit the brick wall and was like, oh, this really isn't working. And, if you can't manage your life, the state of Pennsylvania will manage it for you. I found that out very quickly. Just to let you know. They'll come in. If you can't manage your own life, they'll come in and they'll say, we're going to manage it for you. Here we go. So I found that out really quickly. And that was my first experience. And I was introduced to something which was, some people may be familiar with, which is recovery meetings, 12-step meetings. And it's really, really powerful. I found a real powerful group of people. And, I struggled for years, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I tried different things. I tried marijuana maintenance, just doing marijuana. And I tried all these things. It's been about 8 years now. I finally just came to the place where I just realized, like, hey, this just isn't working. Using alcohol to try to create a state of being within myself where I felt connected to other people just didn't work. That's it. That was the flat. It was like, it just doesn't work. I tried it for a lot of years and it just didn't work. Every time that I did that, it took me down a road that my life became unmanageable. So I made the decision I was gifted the ability to have the decision, because so many times in my life my life was in danger and I was just like completely careless. And I just came to this place where I realized this is not working. This is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to show up in the world. And I began my journey of really figuring out what it was that I needed to figure out so I could show up in the world the way that I really wanted to show up in the world. I wanted to figure out, what is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to be? What is it that I need to be part of? Like, I'll just do whatever. Let's do it. So I started my journey that was my journey to really starting to feel peace within myself and learning what that looks like for me, and really learning about who I am as a person and how to really make meaningful connections with other human beings. So I went on the journey of figuring out, my journey started long ago. It was before that even happened. But for me, really to commit and say, this is what I want more than anything, is I want to be able to show up and just be myself. And just be myself. That's it. That's all I ever really wanted. But I kept looking. I kept looking for it outside of myself.
It's interesting how, like, when you're going through like different journeys or different phases in life, you could just be like, okay, it's working, until it's not anymore. It's working, or it's not working, and then you find something that works. In this scenario, when you found alcohol, and the little bit of liquid courage, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, I can eat or have anything with this magic sauce, and then that doesn't work anymore. You hit a point, a wall. This could be even with positive things where you feel like you've done it, and then you hit a plateau, or feel like you level out, or you hit a wall, go stagnant, and then you have a wake up moment. That's why we call the show Wake Up with Giants TV, right? You have these wake up moments to how you're being, what's working, what's not working. There's no shame or guilt or anything inside of that. Although in that moment, Robert, when you were then woken up a little bit forcefully by the state of Pennsylvania, you're like, oh shit, that's interesting. In that moment, was there grief? Was there uh, judgments? How did you move through those things when you were, forced, or you were woken up to how you were being in the world? Was there grief? Was there judgments? Was there anxieties? Was there fears? And what did you do to get through those things?
That's a really great question, and I would say there still is grief, and there still is fears, and there still are things that I'm working through till this day, and I believe I will be until till the end. And it's something that's it's been a process. I started when I was 17, and I knew the way I was living was not working, but I didn't have another solution. And I kept telling myself, this was another thing that, tell me if people out there can relate to this. I was focused on so much on what I didn't want. I didn't want to keep drinking. I didn't want to keep screwing up. I didn't want to keep letting my family down. I didn't want to keep ending up with the state of Pennsylvania telling me what to do with my life. I didn't want to keep letting myself down. And that was the consistent thing of what I didn't want. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. And one of the things that I've started to wake up to is that anytime that I'm focused on what I don't want, my energy is actually going into creating what I don't want. Seems really simple, right? It seems like the simplest thing in the world, and it really is. And it's also one of the hardest things that I've ever come to be awakened to, because the whole world says, well, you got to avoid it. You have to like put all these barriers up to keep yourself from avoiding the things that you don't want to do. But what I've started to wake up to for myself is that actually leads me in the direction that I don't want to go. It's like my mind is like imagining the scenario that I don't want, and then my whole being is going to create that thing I don't want.
They're tying into that. When you ride a motorcycle, there's a thing called object fixedness, that you have to break your gaze when you're turning corners, because you focus on a tree and you'll hit that tree because you're focused on that tree, even though you don't want to hit the tree. And so in motorcycling, they teach you to break that gaze frequently so that you can make that turn. Otherwise, your object fixedness will take you right at it, even though you don't want to hit it. So I think that ties in a little bit to what you're saying here, but continue your thought and whatever that brought up.
I love that you're sharing that. It was like the first time I ramped my bicycle, it was like a ramp like this on a decline. And I was like, I just don't want to wreck. That's my main thing. And I was like broken collarbone in bed for a week. It's like, I just didn't want to wreck, but that was exactly what happened. It's kind of fun. I felt like Superman for a little while. My little brother was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, right. For a second, right? It just, that didn't stick. And there's another piece to that I'm starting to see for myself is I can even get derailed of thinking like if there's something that I want and I want it so bad because I feel like when I have it, that's going to mean finally I'm there. That is another thing that actually deters me from being able to create what I want in the world, that I didn't see that before either. Like if I want something so bad, that the reason that I want it is because I feel from myself, I feel like I don't have enough or I'm not enough when I'm coming from that place, that I just need that thing to create, like for me to see myself as valuable or worthy. Then that is the very thing that's keeping it out of my life. Whether that be in my business, whether that be with my family, whether that be with myself. Anytime that I desire, I have a want, like coming from that place of like neediness, like I gotta have this. If I don't have it, I'm gonna just crap my pants, or whatever. It's just so bad. You want it so bad that it actually keeps. It's like it's almost the same thing as being focused on what we don't want because of the place, the being that it's coming from. If you can relate, and you probably have experienced this, everybody's experienced this in your life. Like, what is something you really want so bad, like $1 million? Why don't we have it? Because we think that it's going to mean something about, well, this is for me. I'm going to say for me, because I think when I have it, it's going to mean something about who I am.
Hmm.
What's that going to mean about me? What's it going to mean? Like I love Michael Neal's one of my favorite mentors and coaches out there that I follow and listen to. One of the things he says is, we live in the feeling of our thinking, not in the feeling of the world. We live in how, and then he said something that really got me this week that I heard from him that was like, it just blew me away, was, how do you feel your bank account? Can you feel your bank account? Do you really feel your bank account when you look at those numbers? What are you really feeling when you look at the numbers in your bank account? Are you really feeling your bank account? Or are you feeling the thinking that you have about your bank account, about those numbers?
Right.
It's like, well, that was like, whoa, it got me. It really got me. And I started to see like, wow, that's the power of our mind to create these experiences for ourselves.
There's a thought here, that ties into this. So hang on to that, because that the object fixedness is, I'm going to hit this thing that I don't want to hit. But then there's a functional fixedness, a bias that we have of, this is how I've always done things, or this is who I've always been in the world. And the only thing we can see is the limitation of that usage within the confines of what it's always been. It's like a push pin or a stapler. You wouldn't think to use it in any other way but to staple papers, right? Or a thumbtack. You wouldn't think of it in any other way but to push a hole in a wall and hold something in place, because that's the way you've always done it. So it limits our ability to think past that. I've always been broke, you might think. And so you have a hard time seeing past that. So you continue to do the same thinking and the same feeling, like what you're talking about here. And for you, that functional fixedness was, the state of Pennsylvania is going to manage my life, right? Because alcohol took over and I only knew how to use alcohol for one thing, right? I mean, what comes up as you hear that from your point of view?
Alcohol was the answer. How could it not be the answer? That was the only answer that I ever found in my life. So it was really logical for me to keep thinking that was the answer until something else really showed up in my life that was the answer. And it took continuously being open to stay in the conversation and stay in the direction of continuing to just keep screwing, like what would look like screwing up, but really it was my journey. It could look like screwing up, and at the time I thought it was screwing up, but what it really was just me continuing to want more for myself and more to be myself more freely. That was just my yearning. It wasn't me screwing up. It was just my yearning to, and then when I didn't get that and I went back to the thing that I knew was not really working, but I didn't have any other answers. This is what's come up for me, was like, I kept going back to that thing, and that could happen today. Like I could get off here and go, you know what? I'm going to eat 85 cookies or something with milk, like that can happen to me today in a different form. And that's today. It's not alcohol.
Very specific number, right? 85.
Yeah, 85 and
not
3/4 of a cookie, right?
Yeah.
They call me
86
the
is
cookie
way
monster
too
for
many.
a reason. Yeah, if it was 86, that'd be just too many. Only one glass of milk, though. I'm gonna make the
milk. Right. Could you imagine
like 3/4 of a cup of milk?
There wouldn't be much milk left by the time you're done there.
Right, but there's in different ways now that I things that I have used that I've used for so long, like what you're saying, as a solution that's not really a solution. Yeah. It's not really it's not helping me to step into my greatest way of being by eating a whole pack of cookies, but it might be something that I do later.
Yeah.
And I realized, now I can look at that. Like, here's a good example. Yesterday, I had Clear Sky is something that I created. It's an in-person intensive, like a transformational intensive, where I've created for people to come for us to have this transformational conversation about exactly what we're talking about here in an intimate setting that's safe, that allows people for us to really explore who we are as human beings and why we do the things we do, and how how to show up in a way that's more meaningful for us and the people around us. How do we connect with each other in a way that is more meaningful? How do we live from a place of inspiration, and love and service consistently? How do we stay in that state consistently and really keep showing up? Just And yesterday, guess what? I didn't have the Clear Sky event. I created that event, and I had been inviting people to it, and there were 3 people that were signed up, and I wanted to have 20. That was my initial vision, was 20 people. And there were 3 people signed up, and I had a conversation with those 3 people, and we decided together we decided not to do it yesterday, and we're going to table it till the next one in October 19th. Now, 2 years ago, I would have been like, I'm such a stupid piece of crap because I didn't do the 20 people that I wanted. I didn't create the 20 people that I wanted to have there. But yesterday, guess what I got to do? Because I didn't make that mean anything about me. It didn't mean anything about me. I said, guess what? We're going to do it October 19th. It doesn't matter that nobody showed up. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's okay. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean anything about who I am as a person, my value. It just means that there were 3 people signed up, and that's cool. Whatever.
How did you get to that point, Robert? Like of going from, because before you probably judge yourself as something or against something pretty hard, versus now you just be like, this is just the thing. That's
the piece. Okay. Yeah. That's the piece right there. It's like,
how do you make that
shift? I realized that it doesn't do me any good to beat myself up, because really, what do I want to create? I want to create 20 people in the room. If I beat myself up, how am I going to be able to create 20 people for October 19th? It's not going to help. It's not going to do any good, me beating myself up. So for that moment, I just decided, like, well, maybe, all right, well, so what? So I invited people for October 19th, and I'll continue to do that. And the journey has just been consistently staying in the conversation. This is something that I hear Michael Neal says this a lot, is staying in the conversation, staying in the vision of what is it that I really want to create. And I'm going to step off the path and just forgive and recommit. I'm recommitting. I forgive myself and recommit. Forgive myself and recommit. And it's a practice. And
it's resilience, right? Because that cycle of falling off your vision. So you set your vision and then you go for it and you miss the mark. And that's where people quit, is they miss the mark and they call themselves a failure and they throw down. I did a video called on the bow and arrow. You pick up the bow and you shoot the bow and you miss the target by a mile. And some people say, this is stupid. The bow doesn't work. The arrow's off, the weather, blah, blah, blah. They blame, and shame. And then they never pick up the bow again to shoot again. And when all you have to do is, okay, I missed the target, so I'm going to aim this way. And you try it again and again and again. And then you're hitting the bullseye. And then you get really good at hitting the bullseye. But you'll never get there if you keep putting the bow down and saying, it's stupid. This will never work. I'm not the right one. Who am I to shoot this arrow, so to speak? And so it's resilience, right?
And it's okay to do that, because that's part of the journey. That is part of the journey. And this is the other pieces. We're going to do that. We're going to see ourselves and go, oh, I didn't do this thing, because this is what I'm seeing for myself, is because I think that me having that thing, creating that thing, is going to mean something about me that it doesn't really mean. I think me having $1 million is going to mean something great about me that it really doesn't mean, because what am I living in? I'm living in the feeling of thinking that my greatest way of being is somewhere other than right here. And that's okay. Yeah. It's like, my greatest way of being is simply right here in this moment. And I think maybe the question for me that comes up is, how do we access that? And, there's so many things out there like, oh, do breathing exercises, get up in the morning and exercise. And it's like, yeah, but what's the secret sauce? And this was one of the conversations I had with a guy named Steve Hardison, which I think you guys both know. Steve, know that guy? Yeah.
I heard of him a time or two.
And he did a video where he said, how do I he said, stop blaming other people for your own creations. And I thought that was so profound that I sent him a message and I said, I love that. How do I stop blaming other people for my own creations? And he called me and I was like, what? This $200,000 a year coach is calling me? I didn't realize like this is something that he does sometimes. I was like, what? He's calling me. He's like, did this guy butt dial me or what? He must be accidentally calling. And he's like, oh, this is Steve Hardison. I'm like, I don't have that much money, dude. Like, what are you doing calling me, man? You know, that's the way I was feeling in that moment. But
Yeah.
Something really profound is he told
It's
me
Hershey's
that,
dad.
Yeah, it is. It's Hershey's dad. Yeah. He said, I want to help you answer this question. And he said, and I want to let you know the answers in the question. And so I sat with it for a while and I was trying to really figure out what that meant. Okay, then what's it mean? He said, well, what's the answer? And I said something. And he said, no. I was like, okay, all right, man. All right, man. Don't take all the 200,000. So then he said, what's the answer? And I sat with it and I said, stop blaming other people for my own creations. And he said, yeah. And I laughed. And he said, if you get that, you'll laugh a lot more often. And two things happened in that moment. One was I realized that he and I are no different. He called me because he disappeared the levels that I thought. He was like, he's the $200,000 coach. He'd never call little old me. So he disappeared that in that moment. But the other thing that we're pointing towards here that I feel like is really important for the people who are listening that can be very valuable is there is no secret sauce. You either do it or you don't do it. And if you don't do it, that's okay. It's okay if we don't do it. It's like, how do you stop blaming other people for your own creations? Well, you stop. It's like, wait, no. I need to know the secret. Like, what is it? What's the 5-step formula? It's like, no, you stop. You stop doing that. And how do we step into our greatest way of being? We commit to, one of the things I did this morning was I made my bed. I got up, I took a shower. I put my clothes in the laundry. I cleaned the toilet. I did breathing exercises. I meditated for a half an hour. I went for an hour walk. I breathe. I ask God for direction. I open myself to the source to be able to come through me, to be able to share what's meant to be shared for the people who are listening so that they can connect to whatever's meant to for them to connect to through me. It's like, that was the thing. Those are some of the things that I did. I went to the store. I got my stepdad a Father's Day card and a gift and gave it to him. And so those were some of the things. I picked my mom some flowers and gave my mom some flowers. It's like, those are some things that I did this morning. And it doesn't, what's that mean about me? It doesn't mean shit. It just means that I woke up and chose to do those things today. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. It's like, that's what I chose to do today. Now, tomorrow I might choose to sleep in and say, F everybody, and say, I'm done with this stuff and I'm going to go drink beer. I could do that if I wanted. I have a choice. I could go do that. And then the state of Pennsylvania would be like, hey, we're back. We're going to tell you what to do now.
Welcome back to the family.
Manage your life. Back to manage your life again. Like, we found
that brings
out
up
your life too good.
That brings up a concept here. There's a Jewish principle that says the way I am today has nothing to do with what I'll be tomorrow. So, the idea here is you were something yesterday, and we'll include everything before yesterday in yesterday, and you'll be something different tomorrow. But who you are right now in this moment is who you're being right now in this moment. And yesterday didn't have a say in that unless you allowed it to. And today doesn't have a say in tomorrow unless you allow it to, right? So that principle of what you're saying here is, I don't have to give meaning to whatever's going on here. It doesn't mean shit until I give it meaning, right? Like Andy said, keep stepping, but you're also stepping from a fresh step every time. And I think so many of us are dragging our past in and letting that determine the next step, where you're slowing down and you're tuning in with source or God. And you're saying, okay, intuit me, tell me, where should I step next?
When we were sitting, Robert, this is interesting because Sometimes we look to the past for some of the greatest, the greatest teachers in the world, the Gandhis, the I don't know, Mother Teresa's, and all these famous quotes. We sat in a hotel bar, me and you and Emma. And Emma said to me, she was asking me some questions about where I was at, what I was doing, those kinds of things. And I told her how I got to Birmingham, England, and I had felt stuck. And she's like, "Isn't it great that it doesn't fucking matter, like the past?" And she says it in her, I should play this. Like this, she said, I don't know if it'll come through the microphone, but she says, "It doesn't fucking matter." And I don't even, I can't even like imitate Emma's voice, but that it's so true. We put these conditions and these meanings and these constructs of how it has to be, or that's the way it's always been. And the Steve Hardison was like, "No, you constructed it however you wanted in your brain, or you can deconstruct it however you want in your brain too. You could just do something different. You just be that now, whatever it is." And anyway, I thought how profound. I've listened to that, like, I don't know, 10 or 15 times since, just because I'm like, when I start to get into my judgments or into the things and my stories, um, I'll listen to Emma saying, she recorded it for me because I thought it was so great. She sent me that clip. It just says, "It doesn't fucking matter." I can't, I'm butchering her voice for sure. But I
I
listened to
love
that
that.
because that very thought of it, we judge ourselves so hard, and that doesn't matter. Just you can change now or now or now or now, anytime you want to. Just do something different and change that story. Anyway.
Mm.
I love that you're sharing that, and I love that you shared Emma. She's so beautiful. I'm so lucky to be able to call her my girlfriend and for us to be together, and I get to hear her voice every day. So
Right.
yeah, so that's
Lucky.
very
Me too, but
yeah.
it's the same. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not very many words.
Yeah, she's taught me loads about heart centered listening as well, because she's one of the greatest. She really is the greatest heart centered listener and acknowledger that I've ever met, and so I'm very grateful for her.
Mhm.
Um, and so I want to share something, is the thinking about the thinking. It's like the judgment about the judgment, because we can. I've done this in the past. I used to. I would beat myself up, and then I'd be like, "Well, look at you! You're beating yourself up. What are you being so stupid?" And then I'd beat myself up for beating myself up. So I'd have a judgment, and then I'd judge myself for having the judgment, and then I judge myself for judging myself for having the judgment, and then I judge myself for judging myself for judging myself for having the judgment. It was like this vicious cycle of just being like, "Look at yourself. You're just such a loser. All you do is sit in here and talk about how stupid you are," and then you're like, "Now, yeah, look at you. There you are again, saying how stupid." It's like a vicious cycle, and that is part of it, and it's okay. Like this has been the biggest thing for me, is there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix. It just, that stuff comes up. It's coming up for me sometimes. It is choosing to show up. I got the opportunity and the pleasure of meeting Ankush Jain when I went to Phoenix in April. And one of the things that he shared with me that was very useful and really valuable, and I saw being from a different way. He talked about being who we're being, and he said that Steve, his coach, said being is practical. So I looked up what practical means, because Nick Smith, I love that you look things up and you get the definitions of things. I learned that from you. It's like, look things up and like, see, what does that mean? What does practical mean? And practical means that it's involved with the actual doing of things and not the thinking of the doing. So being is actually, it is very encompassed with doing, and being is just, it's like action. It's not thinking about the action and how we're gonna do it. It's just showing up. It's like,
Yeah.
how's that gonna be in 10 days? It's like, I love, this is another quote, something by Michael Neal that he says that I love is, You can't eat what's on your plate, what was on your plate yesterday. And you can't eat what's going to be on your plate tomorrow. You can only eat what's on your plate now. And
That's
I love
it,
that
right?
visualization because
Yeah, that's
you
it.
can't eat what's going to be on your plate tomorrow. And the more that we think about what's going to be on our plate tomorrow and how we're going to set the silverware and where we're going to put the flowers on the table.
And the worry that goes into that, right?
Yeah, what's just the thinking of this is, and I'm getting a little sped up and I'm excited about this stuff. I love this stuff. But the other thing is there's a famous quote by Shakespeare, to be or not to be, that is the question. And something came to me recently around that, which was the question, how do you not be? I asked the listeners and you, how can you not be?
You're always being something.
When we're thinking about what's going to happen in the future, we're not being. Because we're thinking about something that we can't, there's no way to figure that out. There's no way to actually come up with an answer.
Or you're
that's
being
work.
like stagnant or
yeah, the word kind of shows it, right? Like it's the est, the being. To be means to exist. If you look at the essence of that word, est, that came from being, the whole landmark thing, is all about existence. Being just is. You just are. But that whole idea of you're not being when you're there, well, you're still being, you still exist, but you're putting something on it. You're putting an identity on it, an ego on it, a creation on top of it. The movie Moana, right? The crab that has all the stuff on it. You're doing that. That crab is a crab, but the crab puts all this crap on itself to make its appearance like something. And that's what we do.
Dinner or tomorrow's.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you're never not being. Being just is. It's like possibility. What Chris Smith talked about. Possibility exists. Limitation is created. And so, in a sense, there it's that you're creating these ideas or these ideals, and then you're measuring yourself against those ideals, and you almost always find yourself wanting compared to your ideals. So, but you just are. You always just are.
Yeah, the truth is, regardless of what we're imagining in our mind, we just are, from my experience. And another thing that Gary Mahler says that I love is he says, fear is excitement without the breath. I like that because it points to this, that when we're future tripping and we're thinking about what's going to happen, it's like being without the breath. It's like we're going, or frozen in time. We're frozen in time in this moment because we're thinking about how we're going to respond 10 days from now. So in this moment, we're just like, it really freezes time and it extends time because in my experience, because we're trying to figure something out that can't be, there's no way to actually figure that out. And it's the way that we're kind of taught growing up, is that's the way that you do things. You have to prepare for all these things and you have to know all the information before you go in, and you have to have the degree. And if you don't, then you're not going to be accepted. Right. And blah, blah, blah. It's like, go to school and they say, sit down, shut up. We'll tell you what to think. Don't feel. No, we're not going to talk about feelings. We're going to communicate to you. You're not going to say nothing. We're going to communicate and tell you what's true. Don't think for yourself. No, don't do that. We'll tell you what to think. And anyway, that's kind of like the way that we're brought up, right?
Coaching by the state of Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. We're going to coach you. Watch this. Hey, get you. And parents, when do parents pay attention to their kids? I'm guilty of this, when they're doing what we don't want. So we teach our kids how to focus on what they don't want, because we focus on them when they're doing things that we think we don't want them to do. And if you're open to a story, if I can share a quick story.
Please do.
My daughter recently, I went to an event called the Lamb Run, which is something that Sasha Sharma puts on. He's doing another one in July in New York City. This one was in Phoenix, and it was a 3-day weekend transformational event. And when I was there, I was off my phone for most of the time. So I wasn't using my phone. I was present with the event. I was present with the people there. It was really powerful for me. And when I came back from Phoenix, I was kind of going through a detox of my phone, and I got around my kids were here, and my daughter, she's 5, and she wanted to get a bath, and I was like, cool. So I got her in the bath, and I came out here and sat in this chair, and I started looking at my phone, and I'm present with my phone, and she's in there for a while, and then I hear this like, I'm like, what's going on? So I go in. She had a bowl full of shampoo, conditioner, soap, and all this stuff is like full. And she's like, this is my slime. And I'm like, you don't do that. You don't waste. You're wasting stuff, right? This is who I was being in that moment. I was showing up and really frustrated because, one, I was being present with my phone and not with my daughter. So, I was making that mean about me that I was a bad father in that moment. And I went in there, and I was also making it mean that we don't have enough. Like, we don't have enough. You have to conserve the shampoo and conditioner. You don't have enough to be creative. And I wasn't seeing that in the moment. All I was seeing was, no, don't do that. And so I dumped out the soap and conditioner, and she was just like, she was not liking Dad in that moment. She was like, no, your Father's Day, you suck,
you ruined
man.
her creation.
I ruined her creation. Yeah, she was being creative
perfect,
and fun,
perfect
and
creation, and now you're dumping it down the drain.
And I dumped it out, and I washed her hair. She didn't want me to wash her hair. I washed her hair with some of it to try to get some of it used. Rinsed it out, and she was just screaming. And she went into her room, and I was trying to talk to her, and I realized, like, man, I really screwed it up on this deal. And she's screaming, she's really upset, and I just realized, I was like, okay, I get it. I see what happened. I saw that I wasn't letting her be who she was being. She was being creative. She was being fun. She was being 5. She was being imaginative. She's got her slime. And who was I being? As I was being scared, I was being distracted. I was being frustrated. I was being coming from a place of lack. And I was trying to impose my way of being onto her in that moment. And what this is the second part to this that was really powerful is when I realized that, I gave her a space. She came out, and I said to her, this was what really helped me to be able to leave that where it was instead of carrying it into the future. I said, listen, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I realized that you were being creative. You were being fun. You were being loving. You were being exactly who you were supposed to be, and you didn't do anything wrong. Dad was trying to get you to do something and be something that you're not. And I said, please forgive me for that. I want to let you know that this had nothing to do with you. This was me. And you were being perfect. And she was able to, in that moment, because she's full of love and such a sweet person and so loving, that she just allowed it to be where it was. And that allowed me not to have to bring that with me. So I don't have to have that with me right now, because I was able to see that for what it really was. I was able to see how I created that disconnection in that relationship through my fear and my lack and my worry in that moment. And when I was able to see that and own that, I was able to ask her for forgiveness and let that go, so I didn't have to bring it to this moment now. And right after that, it was like a weight was lifted, and we had a good time, and we got to spend time together. But I want to share that with the people here, because maybe there's a relationship where that's happening. Maybe there's a relationship in your life that the other person is being something that you don't like, because you feel like it means something about you. And maybe there's something in that for you to take a look at, for you to be able to really see from a loving perspective of, oh, what is my part to this, and be able to really see that story about something in your life that could be valuable for you.
Yeah, I think the idea of heart-centered listening, that the topic that's the underlying theme here is, the more present you get, the more you drop from here to here. And with your daughter, that's an example of it. You're able to hear her from here right? Versus here, because logic was afraid. Logic was you're wasting, there's a lack. You can't do that with the shampoo and the conditioner, but you dropped. You took a moment, you dropped, and that opened her up to come in here and hear, you as well. And that letting go, let's leave that where it is so that we can move forward and not carry it into the future. I think that's where a lot of us are missing is we're listening from here. Look at what this might do to me, this me, not this me. And so I love that story. Thank you.
Yeah. It was really a powerful moment in my life. And yeah, maybe we are listening from here, and I want to keep saying that that's okay.
Yeah.
That's because we can judge ourselves for listening from here. And it's just like, that's the way that we have been. That's the way that we've been brought up and trained from a very young age. And it's okay. It's just the way that we've been trained, and it's okay. When we start to be okay with that, we can start to let go of beating ourselves up for being in our heads, and we can just be okay that that's what happens sometimes. Then we can be gentle. One of the things that I started ending all my the Twine slime bath wash. I love that.
Twine slime. That would be that awesome name for like a kid's soap, for like a kid's body wash, the Twine slime.
But that forgiveness piece of us being in our head, and I can judge myself and have in the past for being in my head, and it's just like it's okay. That is how we've been trained, and it just takes really being gentle with ourselves. I end all my Facebook posts with "Be gentle with yourself." Yeah, because I think heart-centered listening comes from being gentle, being gentle with myself, and allowing the thoughts to just be what they are, and allow them to be up there, and just
it's a big part of what we teach, right? Is the awareness. There's a gentleness in the awareness. And the forgiveness work that you just mentioned is our definition that we use is to not cause additional harm over it. It happened. It is what it is. Like, do we really have to make it worse? Do we have to heap more harm on top of that? It's really unnecessary. And so coming from forgiveness as I'm just not going to cause additional harm over this. It is what it is. It wasn't ideal. It's not what I had in mind. It's not my preference. But that doesn't change that it happened the way it happened. So do we really have to make it worse? And so I think that's a part of heart-centered listening too, is, it is what it is. If I'm in my head and I'm thinking from there, it is what it is. It's okay. I don't have to make myself wrong over that. I don't have to make myself wrong over where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. Making ourselves wrong is something that I've been really, really good at in a lot of areas of life, making myself really, really wrong.
Everyone at home's like, They know.
Making myself wrong,
We've all done it.
State of Pennsylvania knows Robert on a first name, right?
Well, actually, in thinking of the state of Pennsylvania, I want to share a joke with you if you're okay on the joke aspect. So this guy goes in for a job interview, and the interview goes on, and after it's over, the manager says, "Great interview, just one question." He said, "There's a 5-year lapse in your work history. What happened?" And the guy said, "Oh, that's when I went to Yale." And the guy said, "You went to Yale? Great, you're hired." And the guy said, "Yay, I got a job."
That was a great Father's Day joke. Dad joke. That was
for
awesome.
Anybody that's ever had their life managed by any state in the United States or internationally, any country or state, federal government. That joke's for you.
Yeah. Yay.
I would wonder, as we're coming up toward the end of this, we either ask, is there a question you want to be asked, or is there something in your intuition that tells you that we need to speak about that, for the audience today? Is there anything that comes up immediately as you hear that? Is there a question or an intuition that comes up?
No, just be gentle with yourself. Be gentle. Just be gentle. It's the metaphor of the rock versus the water. The rock versus the water. Like which is more powerful? You think the rock is rough and rigid and hard, and it's like,
Yeah.
You know, we try to be like that with ourselves. I've tried to be like that with myself for lots of years. Like, I got to force this thing that I really don't want to do. I got to go to the gym 695 times in 15 seconds. And if I don't do it, I'm going to die. Macho Man Randy Savage is trying to give ourselves an aneurysm. It's like, but water over a long period of time, maybe it doesn't show the effects right away. But when you run water over a rock, you can take a huge rock that's hard and rigid and tough, and you can make it down to a smooth, round stone. And so water, the soft always overcomes the hard. It always does. It always encompasses the rigid, the soft, and that's just being more gentle with ourselves and other people is, for me, it's the way to really connect with our heart space and really connect with the truth of we're all just doing the best that we can. We're all just showing up to life with what we got, with the information that we have available, and we're all doing the very best that we can.
Yeah.
And if we can really see that, and we can really connect with each other at that level and see that we are all being exactly who we're meant to be in this moment, just like my daughter with that slime, she was being perfect. In this moment, who we're being is exactly who we're supposed to be. And if we can just be with that and be okay with that, and we can just really touch that part of ourselves, and we can connect to that space within other people. And I've been blessed to. I actually was brought home to a restaurant, a family restaurant, and lived above the restaurant for the first 10 years of my life. And I'm really in love with people, and I sometimes find it confusing. Even through all my struggles and stuff, I've always had a really deep love for people. Just really love people, love being with people and having fun with people. And I feel really grateful to be here with you guys today on Father's Day and to have this opportunity to share this, because this is really important for us to step into that, our heart space, to be able to connect with each other. Because when we do that, it doesn't matter what we've done. It doesn't matter what we've thought or who we think we are, because when we connect with that part of ourselves, we can really see that we're all connected. We're all exactly where we're supposed to be. Is it really, really, really? We are all just right exactly where we're supposed to be. Even if it doesn't feel like, just keep on keeping on. 17 years old, it took me till I was 35 before I stopped alcohol completely. And it's been 8 years since I stopped alcohol. Now,
that's awesome.
I might have to try a different program for the cookies, but that's a different story.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate
maybe 84, 83,
right. I'll get it down to 81 today, but it's all good. So I just want to share that. Be gentle with yourself. I love you all, and thank you for having me here today. This has been an honor and a pleasure, and this has been awesome. A gift for me for Father's Day. So thank you.
Yeah, happy Father's Day. Ryan, do you have some final thoughts here?
I do, and I'm already future tripping till our next time that we meet again, because I had looked forward to the moment that ever since I had the pleasure of coming across Robert online. Just look forward to the day that I could meet Robert Twine. Right, he's that kind of a guy that you see how he shows up in the world, and you see the love that he does have for people. Like that's my dude, that's my guy, that's my people, and so when you meet him, I'm telling you, he's exactly the way he is here in real life. He shows up, he's present. There's Emma right there, and here, let's see if I can play this, and if it's loud enough. Let's see.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Did you hear that?
Just barely.
So I've got that on there forever, Robert. I get to listen to your girlfriend too, but in a different way. So she's both of them too. They're that type of people where you want to be around them. So if what you heard from Robert if you resonate with it, if it touches your heart, if it's speaking to you, find ways to get around them. They're very active. They're on social media. They've got programs. Robert's, he runs a program, and he's got space and capacity to listen to what you're going through, and then help you to start doing that for you, um, so that the state of Pennsylvania doesn't have to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
shoot, right?
you're in that position, and you gotta, you gotta whob. You you can call, connect with Robert right there. There's Facebook. You go in there and find him, because those types of people in your life, they have your back. They want what's best for you. They've been where where you are. It might be in a little bit of a different way, but they can connect and understand, and help you in your journey. Maybe see some things differently. Just like somebody like a Steve Hardison. Robert said, back in the day, he wasn't a $200,000 a year coach, and he felt less than, that Steve Hardison would call. I tell you what, I don't think Robert's prices are that, but he is that caliber of a coach, if I've ever met one. So, yeah, right there, that sums it up. Thank you, Emma, for summing it up again in way less words than I needed to speak. And but Robert, it's been a pleasure. You're an amazing human being. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you too. Anything else you want to share finalized?
No, just be gentle with yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself, and you'll be
Today I'm
gentle
going to
with
be the
others.
best fucking dad ever.
Everybody that's watching, for each of you, know that we love you. We're grateful for you. Thank you for the comments. They make the show everything that it is. Thank you for sharing our channel with others. So if you know somebody that could benefit from this conversation specifically, tell them about it. Let them know where to find it. Subscribe to our channel so you get notifications when we go live every single dang time. And as we always say, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time, and you're doing what you need to be doing. So keep being a giant. Small steps will get you to that giant life. Thank you, Andrea. Love you. This is my beautiful girlfriend right there. So go make it a giant day. We will see you in the next video. Take care.
Love you too.
See y'all.